How are you doing?
Welcome to a special Thanksgiving Day episode of Mostly Dead Folks, the podcast about lives of the past and how we keep them alive today. I'm your co-host Joshua Stern.
I'm Brian Dunn.
And of course, Thanksgiving is literally 1 week from today. I love Thanksgiving. I'm a big fan.
Oh, it's so good.
I think it's my favorite holiday.
Do you?
What's yours?
Christmas, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I get it. It's just I don't like having to buy all the stuff.
That's true. It is commercialized, as Charlie Brown would say.
Absolutely. Just about hanging out with the people you love and eating. What could be better?
Yeah.
So on that note, Brian and I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about food in, of course, the context that Mostly Dead Folks does by making it as boring as humanly possible. We decided to look back to the great presidential state dinners of all time and ask the question, which one would you go back in time to do?
Yeah.
Now, those of you who are longtime fans of the show know that we traditionally spin the wheel to decide who goes first. But Brian and I decided, it's just not fair, because what happens if it keeps landing on Brian? So he went twice in a row. I've gone once. I'm going to go first this time, and then we'll alternate from then on. So we're going to talk about the best presidential meals of all time, or the one you'd want to go back to. So I don't know if you know this, Brian. I had to do a lot of research for this one. Apparently, according to the Constitution, Article 2, Section 3, it is literally in the presidential job description to host heads of state.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Quote, he shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers.
Oh, okay.
So this isn't something they're doing out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it because the Constitution says they must do it.
Yep.
So there's lots to choose from. And I will recommend to everyone listening, Foreign Policy, this website has, if you look up all the state dinners, I don't know how many people put this together. There's infographics. Not only, how many times has fish been served? What kinds of fish have been served?
Really?
When was the fish served? How was it prepared? I don't know who these people are, but thank God for them. So I want to give a little quick overview of kind of how state dinners have changed over time. And what's interesting is that I think presidents have seen state dinners as a way to make sure they're never out of touch with the people. I think back to in 2018 during the presidential shutdown, President Trump bought McDonald's out of his own pocket to make sure that it wasn't, wasn't a bad look, not having a big opulent state dinner.
Right.
And during the Great Depression, Eleanor Roosevelt also was big on that. Had this great quote. Now, this I respect. I know he's the most overrated president. According, you'll learn.
You'll see that.
The most overrated president, mind you, according to this guy, is FDR. That's a hot take. But anyway, so Ernest Hemingway, the great author, was invited to the White House in 1937 to have dinner at the White House, and he said about this Great Depression era meal, quote, "We had a rainwater soup followed by rubber squab, a nice wilted salad, and a cake some admirer had sent in, an enthusiastic but unskilled admirer."
Wow.
Savage.
That's pretty wordy for Hemingway,
Very much so. Yeah, there's no periods. It's like what? We have two sentences there. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
So I think it was when Kennedy came in. Kennedy changed the game.
Yes, Camelot.
Camelot, exactly.
Yes.
It was the first time there was an executive chef in the White House. Previously, it had just been random cooks, mainly military background. Military chefs, God bless them, but they're not necessarily looking for elevated cuisine.
Right.
Though even though JFK brought in the kind of French cuisine, he's the first president to serve an American wine, a Pinot Noir.
Ooh.
So who knew?
Was it from California?
It was indeed.
Oh,
so there you go. So interestingly enough, at the time, California, a Republican stronghold, Kennedy not playing partisan games at the time, which I thought was interesting. But anyway,
Nice.
that's a bit of background. The meal that I would go back to, there's a couple of reasons. I will point out that I'd been eating pizza for about a week straight when I was doing this, so my mind was thinking towards a healthier meal. So the choice, I would go back in time to the October 1994 state dinner between President Clinton and Nelson Mandela.
Ooh,
So Nelson Mandela, for those that don't know, of course, the first black president of South Africa, the first open democratic election after the apartheid. For American viewers might know the Jim Crow system. It's the South African equivalent, whereby people of color were put at the bottom of the social hierarchy. So Nelson Mandela's election is a huge deal. Clinton welcomes him in, and let's talk about the menu first of all, because I think the menu sounds great.
We got to talk about food.
We got to talk food.
Yeah.
So but initially, I was going to go food, but Brian had said, "But what about the people?" And I said, "It's a good suggestion. I think the food sounds good." So the first course was layered summer vegetables with a lemongrass and red curry. A big red curry fan. The main course was halibut with a sesame crust, served with a bib lettuce with endive and watercress, and some New York wild ripened cheese, bringing that American flavor there. And for dessert for me, lychees, raspberry, apple sabayon, and cookies.
Cookies.
Got to have cookies on there. It's Bill Clinton after all.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
He couldn't be too healthy.
Yeah.
So the food sounds great, but for me, you know, I think this is just, I want to go back in time to this tremendous moment of optimism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Soviet Union's been dead and gone for 3 years. America's sitting atop the pile. Granted, it's with Bill Clinton, but nonetheless, you have this incredibly optimistic moment. And I wanted to share what President Mandela said at this meal. I mean, I get goosebumps just even reading this. He said, "Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, honorable members of the administration, as we break bread together within the venerable confines of this famous symbol of democracy, we are reminded of that which binds us, particularly the pursuit of freedom, justice, and equality."
Wow.
Powerful. And I mean,
Yeah.
it goes on and just gets better and better. But to me, I want to go back in time. The food sounds great, but I want to be in the room where Mandela delivers this just unbelievable address. And I also, and I do this at a time of kind of sadness. I have friends from South Africa, and the bonds that have sustained that relationship for 30 years have really come under attack in the past recent while. And I want to go back in time to this moment where South Africa really admired the U.S. as this beacon of democracy and freedom. I would love to be in that room. I'm sure Bill Clinton probably played the sax at some point, which would have been worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
So for me, if I could go back in time to anything, be there with Mandela.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and have that delicious fruit platter for dessert.
That's a good one.
That's what I would
So
do.
would you have snuck in and like reached out for Mandela's hand?
I
Would you have wanted to meet with him?
I probably would have collapsed, like just vaporized. There would have been nothing left of me. I enjoy life, and just touching the man's hand would have been too much for me. So I probably would have just stood in the back and admired the entire soiree, and then maybe picked some food off somebody's plate.
That's a good one.
Yeah. What do you got?
So I kind of jumped around. I've got one that I'm gonna kind of really highlight, but this was hard because in March 1979 we had, I believe it's the largest state dinner, and this was during the Camp David Accords. So this was the president of Egypt, Anwar Sadat, and then I'm going to butcher his name, Begin, Prime Minister Begin of Israel. The Camp David Accords, if you don't know, had to do with a peace agreement between these two countries because there's a lot of war and tension going on in that region leading up to this moment. And Egypt had done this big step for a Muslim country to recognize Israel.
They were the first.
Yep, they were the first. And then Israel, as part of their bargain, was to pull out of the Gaza Strip. So that was big.
And there's peace in the Middle East now.
Yes,
Incredible.
Yeah. So that said, I just thought that would just historically be really the cool dinner I would want to go to.
Be great.
And kind of hear the conversations being said. And again, it sounds like a party since it was the largest one. But let's talk about the food there. So they had beef strip sirloin, but I'm a big dessert guy.
Yeah, I was thinking
I'm
dessert
a big
too.
dessert guy. I would go. I'm one of those guys that goes right to dessert, and then I'll pick around.
You don't strike me as a dessert man. I see you more of like a salty kind of guy.
I've got a big
sweet
tooth.
Wow.
Yeah. So they had chocolate hazelnut mousse. That sounds good, right?
It does sound good.
Sounds good. But then I also, in terms of entertainment, I went September 15th, 2008. And this is George W. Bush, who, again, I think we both are in agreement. If you had to hang out and party with a president, just the guy who's ripping jokes and just telling old college stories and pranks, and he's probably pranking, the vice president and whatnot.
If I can, side note for those of you listening or watching, Google President George W. Bush, watch this drive. It's perhaps the greatest. It's one of the most. You got to watch it. Watch this drive.
Yes.
George W. Bush.
Yes.
Look it up.
It's a golf video.
Yeah, it's a very short golf video that reveals a lot about how he viewed the seriousness of the world. Sorry, continue.
You had to bring that up.
Had to do it. It's great.
No, see, I could bring this up. Just don't. Whatever you do, you could party with George W. Bush. Just don't watch a football game.
Oh no.
In the White House residence and eating pretzels.
Yes.
Because if you don't know that story, he passed out briefly, and Secret Service had to rush in, and he blacked out and everything
like his
that.
dad with the sushi.
With the
it's unbelievable. There's another great clip. We'll get George H.W. Bush.
Maybe don't watch that clip right before lunch of Daddy Bush. But anyway. So at that dinner, So this was to celebrate the president of Ghana. And this might be a little too on the nose, but at that dinner, they had Maine lobster. That sounds
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
a big lobster fan.
Kennebunk Port is where the Bush family compound is.
Yeah, lamb. Now the thing about Bush, he always goes with lamb, and I'm like, I'm not a lamb.
We're gonna have a
guy.
disagreement about this.
Yeah,
I'm, a
I'm
big
not.
lamb
I'm
fan.
not a lamb guy.
We have a disagreement.
But after the dinner, they had a Lion King the musical performance. So there's pictures of Bush like sitting there again, party guy with fully costumed Broadway musical.
For his sake, I'm glad the smartphone hadn't yet really come out yet. So there's very few photos of
It's
this.
true.
For his sake, I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
For that.
Now they did have whipped sweet potatoes, which I like sweet potatoes at Thanksgiving. That's a key for me. But again, going back to dessert, they had banana pudding, banana coconut pudding, excuse me, and graham crackers with a cocoa pod inside of a cocoa pod.
You were focusing on the dessert. You went all
I
in.
went dessert, and I've got one more. So,
Okay.
but the main thing that I want to highlight, I thought this was cool when I researched this, was when George VI, King George VI, came over in 1939, hosted by the Roosevelts.
The most overrated president.
The votes, yes. And it's the first time, this was a historic because it's the first time that a president stood with a monarch of Britain
Is that
on
right?
U.S. soil.
I had
On
no
U.S.
idea.
soil.
That's unbelievable.
Now, they were here for 4 days, the king and the queen, and the Roosevelts did, great job as the hosts. They took them to the World's Fair in 1939.
As one does.
They even went to Mount Vernon and laid a wreath at George Washington's grave.
That's one does.
But the cool moment comes when they actually go to the Roosevelts' Hyde Park Cottage in New York, and they had a picnic. So again, you would think, oh, we've got the king and queen are here. We've got to kind of have fancy, this and that. They had a picnic, and they had, traditional turkey and ham fixings. But the thing that kills me is they had hot dogs. They had hot dogs on a silver tray, and the king and the queen ate the hot dogs off of a paper plate. The king reportedly had two himself, and the queen was very confused as to how to eat the hot dog.
I gotta ask, what's Roosevelt trying to prove here?
Well,
I mean, this is not a hot dog eaten set.
Again,
What's he trying to prove?
he's trying to show the kind of American identity, I think, that, look, we're an ally of yours, we're a supporter of yours, but when in America, you got to do as the Americans do.
I suppose.
So yeah, they also, again, here's your dessert. They had strawberry shortcake.
That's a
classic, right? So I just wanted to highlight that. They did go driving in Roosevelt's car, which apparently Roosevelt did drive himself. Which, if you don't know about Roosevelt, he had polio, so that was kind of an interesting thing. They went swimming together. So kind of, again, hard to picture the king taking off his crown for a moment and having a dip with the president.
I will point out that this episode was supposed to be choose one state dinner to go back to. So after playing very fast and loose with the rules, now you got to choose which one of these fine events. Because I had a bunch that
I'm going to the picnic because I'm a hot dog guy too. And I just feel like just to see how mortified the queen must have been with this. Is it a sandwich? What is this? How do I eat it? Now, reportedly, the queen did use utensils to eat the hot dog,
and that's why we fought for our independence.
There you go, guys. There you go.
Well, there you have it, folks. You've heard a wide array of presidential meals. As I said, just it is a bizarre and sort of strange corner of the internet. But if you want to learn more about these, I really recommend that American Progress article. It's just a fascinating world. And I think we have time for a question. This one comes from the middle school.
Yeah, so this is a question from Johnny.
Okay, Johnny.
And his question is kind of broad. Right. What is your favorite historical period, Josh?
Ooh, favorite historical period. I'm biased because most of my focus was in the 20th century. I'd say my favorite period to kind of study and to learn about probably the 1920s, actually. I think
nice.
The 20s, it's something that, of course, I grew up about Gatsby and the Roaring 20s, and of course that's part of it, but I've just really enjoyed learning more about the many different layers of it. You had the first time that urbanization meant that American cities had outpaced the countryside, so you have this big kind of population shift. You've got the Great Migration from south to North. You have this kind of weird post-Reconstruction era of racial dynamics. You have this moment where World War II seems very distant, but we know from the benefit of history that it's coming. I just find it to be a really fascinating period that I learn more and more about.
When I teach it to my college students, it's an interesting like transitional period for America. Are we more modern America,
right,
or are we still holding on to the traditional? Because you've got the Scopes Monkey trial,
sure, another good, right in the middle, 25. Right?
Yeah,
25,
yeah, and yet you've got advancements in terms of women,
sure,
in terms of getting the right to vote, but then the identity of the flappers, pushing the sexual identity and that whole thing. So I love the 1920s. Very,
what would you
very
say?
much. I would just say just broadly the American Revolution. I'm a big revolution guy. I just think, I mean, man, can we just go back in time and grab some of those founding fathers? Yes, they had flaws.
Sure.
We know the big one is being slavery, but they were just geniuses. And what they left us in terms of the Declaration, the Constitution. So,
have you seen the Burns documentary yet?
I have not.
I'm excited to see that as well. Yeah, it's going to be good. So, I mean, these are great answers. Well, I think that's all we got for today. We'd love for you to subscribe, of course, but leave comments. Let us know what you thought, whose presidential dinner you liked more. Maybe do your own research and find out a presidential dinner that we didn't think about that you think would be interesting. Or if you have any sort of ideas for future themes and topics, we'd love to hear them, because Mostly Dead folks, if it functions at all, only functions because of your input. So that's all we have today. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm Joshua Stern.
I'm Brian Dunn.
And we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving filled with hopefully some delicious food.
Yes, yes. Hopefully we made you hungry.
Be well.